Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We sift through the noise to get you right to the core ideas. Today, we're diving into Peter Thiel's philosophy, the co-founder of PayPal or early Facebook investor. His book, 0 to 1, really shook things up for innovators.
Exactly. And our mission today is to really get under the hood of what starting at zero means. It's not just for tech startups. We think this way of thinking can challenge how you approach, almost everything. It's a shortcut to getting smart on a big idea.
Okay, let's unpack this then, this core idea, 0 to 1. What exactly does Thiel mean when he says starting from zero? How's that different from, say, normal progress?
Right. So Thiel draws this really sharp line. He talks about 1 to n versus 0 to 1, making more of it, or maybe tweaking it slightly.
Oh, like another social media app or another online store, that kind of thing.
Precisely. It's valuable, sure, but it's iterative. It's copying. 0 to 1, though, that's the jump. It's creating something genuinely new, going from, nothing to something. Thiel believes the future gets built on these kinds of leaps, not just small steps forward.
So if 1 to n is mostly copying, what are the dangers? What happens if a company or even an individual just focuses on that?
Well, the big one Thiel points to is competition. Simple as that. If you're just copying or doing a slightly better version, you're jumping into a fight, basically. And he argues that competition, it just eats away at profits. And it kills originality because everyone starts looking the same.
Okay. So the real value comes from swimming against the current.
That's his point. Real value, financially and for society, he says, comes from being contrarian, from asking what important thing is nobody else building, not just joining the latest gold rush.
But here's something interesting. You hear a lot that big innovation has slowed down, right? Since the huge breakthroughs of the last century. Are we still making these 0 to 1 jumps, or are we stuck making slightly better copies?
Yeah, Thiel addresses that.
Yeah.
He doesn't quite agree innovation has stopped. His view is more like it's not spread out evenly anymore. It's concentrated. He talks about these frontier areas where we are genuinely still near zero. Think AI, biotech, maybe space, energy.
Mm-hmm.
These are fields where he thinks we're just scratching the surface, where true 0 to 1 is still happening. The problem isn't the lack of potential, he'd say.
Okay, so if the potential is there, why aren't more people taking these big, bold 0 to 1 leaps? What's holding things back?
Well, Thiel puts a lot of it down to societal pressure, conformity. Think about it. We're often encouraged from school onwards to follow safe paths, get the grades, get the good job, follow the script.
It's a well-trodden path.
Exactly. And he's quite critical of how this creates a culture focused on competing for things that already exist. Credentials, status, rather than encouraging original thought. His Thiel Fellowship, giving money to young people to skip college and build something. That was a direct challenge to this idea. Let's try building instead of just ticking boxes.
So is he actually saying education can be bad for innovation? That seems pretty radical.
It's nuanced. He's not anti-learning. The issue for him is when education becomes more about indoctrination, when it rewards just following the rules, compliance over genuine creativity, when it teaches what to think, maybe, instead of how to think independently.
Okay.
That's the danger he sees, narrowing horizons instead of opening them up, pushing people towards existing definitions of success.
Right. So if the environment often pushes us to conform, what makes the difference? What's the mindset of someone who breaks out and actually does go 0 to 1?
He boils it down to two things, really. Courage and clarity. The courage to question the assumptions everyone else takes for granted, and the clarity to see an opening, an opportunity that isn't obvious because it's not trendy.
So instead of what's hot, they ask.
They ask what's missing or what's fundamentally broken here that we could fix in a totally new way.
Can you give us a solid example of that? Someone who really embodied this?
Well, Elon Musk's almost the textbook case Thiel might point to. When Musk started SpaceX, people thought he was, frankly, insane. Private rockets. That was government work.
Yeah, totally.
But he asked that 0 to 1 question. Why can't a private company make space travel dramatically cheaper and more reliable? Same with Tesla. He wasn't aiming for a slightly better hybrid. He was going for the mass market electric car, changing the whole game. These were deeply contrarian bets based on creating something fundamentally new.
That's powerful. So is being contrarian the main thing then, just disagreeing with everyone?
It's necessary, Thiel would say, but definitely not enough on its own. You can be contrarian and just plain wrong.
Right, easily done.
The trick is being contrarian and right. You need to identify some important truth that most people miss or disagree with. That's why his famous interview question is, what important truth do very few people agree with you on? It forces you to think independently.
Wow, that question really stops you in your tracks. It must be incredibly difficult just to find a truth like that, let alone act on it. How does Thiel suggest people even start looking?
He really hammers on the need to actively resist groupthink, to cultivate your own observations. He argues most people just mimic others, right? Because it feels safer to be in the herd. Finding that important truth means stepping away from that, maybe feeling uncomfortable, and trusting your own original insights.
So if everyone agrees with you.
You're probably on well-trodden ground, yeah. Not 0 to 1 territory.
Okay, this idea of pure creation, not just tinkering, seems to clash with a lot of the hustle culture noise we hear. You know, move fast and break things, fail fast, fail often. How does Thiel's focus fit with that?
He's pretty skeptical of just like random activity, busyness for its own sake. He thinks unfocused experimentation can be a massive trap, chasing every shiny object. 0 to 1 requires real conviction, laser focus, he calls it. It's not about throwing spaghetti at the wall. It's about identifying that one critical thing and pouring your energy into it.
So hard work isn't enough.
Not if it's scattered. He literally says something like, hard work is overrated if it's not directed. Focus is underrated because it's rare. It's about precision.
And what about popularity? If everyone's chasing the same trend, does that mean the real opportunity is already gone? Is popularity the enemy here?
Absolutely, according to Thiel. By the time an idea is popular, the window for true 0 to 1 creation is likely closed. Those groundbreaking ideas, they often look weird, maybe even unpopular at the start. People might dismiss them.
Which could actually be a good sign.
He thinks so. It suggests you might be onto something genuinely different, not just another Me Too product in a crowded space.
Okay, and back to that fail fast, fail often mantra from Silicon Valley. Thiel pushes back hard on that, doesn't he?
He really does. Look, he admits mistakes happen, obviously, but he thinks glorifying failure is, well, misguided. Failure is costly, he argues. It shouldn't be the objective. The goal is success. And that comes from, deliberate insight, careful planning, not just random shots in the dark.
So celebrating failure might distract us.
Exactly. It distracts from the need for real courage, clear vision, persistence, the things that actually lead to breakthroughs. Learn from failure, yes, but aim for success through strategy.
This leads us to maybe his most provocative idea, his critique of competition itself. We're always told competition is good, it drives innovation. He says the opposite.
Yeah, it's a core part of his thinking. He argues competition mostly drives conformity, sameness. When you're obsessed with beating your rivals, all your energy goes into watching them, reacting to them, maybe copying them slightly better. You're not focused on creating something radically new.
So the goal isn't to win the competition.
The goal is to escape competition altogether, to build a monopoly.
Whoa, monopoly. That word sounds bad, though, doesn't it? Like price gouging and stagnation.
He makes a distinction. There are bad monopolies, sure, the ones that just extract value, like maybe an old school utility that doesn't innovate. But then there are good monopolies. These arise because they created something so new and valuable that for a time, they have no real competitors. Think early Google.
Ah, okay. They created a whole new category.
Exactly. They provided so much value, they were in a league of their own. That's why he has that famous line, competition is for losers. The real winners, in his view, invent entirely new markets.
Competition is for losers. Definitely memorable. Okay, let's bring this home for the listener. What does all this mean for you listening right now? How can someone use the 0 to 1 idea if they're not, starting a tech company?
Fundamentally, it's about choosing not to live a life that's just a copy of someone else's. So many people, maybe without realizing it, just follow preset paths for careers, lifestyles, even opinions. The 0 to 1 idea applies just as much there. It's about asking yourself, what's something meaningful, something unique that I can do or create? It doesn't have to be a company. It could be a project, a niche career path, just living more authentically.
So it boils down to courage, really, more than just technology.
I think so. Technology is often the tool, the expression, maybe, but the courage to step off the beaten path, to think differently, that's the foundation. Without that, you're stuck in 1 to N.
Okay, practical question then. Someone's listening, feeling stuck, maybe in a job that feels repetitive, or a business just chasing competitors. What's a very first step to break free, to even start thinking 0 to 1?
I think the first step is just awareness. Realizing you might be caught in that competitive loop, mistaking it for progress just because everyone else is doing it. Once you see that, you can start asking different questions. Not, how do I beat them, but
What can I do that makes them irrelevant?
exactly. What can I create that sidesteps this whole game? That shifting questioning, that's the doorway.
Okay, but let me push back slightly. Thiel's a billionaire. It's easier for him to talk about taking huge risks. For most people, isn't trying a 0 to 1 leap just irresponsible, too risky.
You'd likely counter that risk is relative. Is starting something new truly riskier than, say, spending decades in a job you hate? Or banking your whole future on an industry that might disappear?
Fair point.
What we call stability can be an illusion, right? Thiel's argument is that clinging to the past isn't safe. The safer bet, paradoxically, might be to actively help create the future.
That definitely reframes the idea of safety. Looking forward, where does Thiel see the big 0 to 1 chances now? What fields excite him?
He consistently points to a few key areas. AI, despite the hype, he thinks we're still early. Biotech, transforming health, space exploration, obviously, and energy finding abundant, clean sources. But crucially, he stresses the bottleneck isn't usually the technology itself, it's our imagination, our willingness to think big enough. Why do you think so few people really adopt this way of thinking then? Why do most of us stay stuck in the one-to-N rut?
It's probably a mix of things. Fear is a big one, fear of failure, fear of sticking out. And our culture often reinforces conformity, the safe path. But Thiel would likely argue that ultimately the limits are the ones we place on ourselves. The potential for creation is huge. We just don't always give ourselves permission to access it. That's quite profound, the idea that we limit ourselves. So for someone listening who feels inspired and wants to take that first step, maybe tomorrow, what's one concrete thing they could do?
I'd say, start small, but think big. Find one problem, even a small one, that genuinely bugs you or interests you. Then consciously resist just looking up how others solve it. Ask yourself, what's really missing here? What's a totally original angle? And then this is key. Take one small, concrete step toward that unique solution. Don't worry about changing the world overnight.
Just get moving in the right direction.
Exactly. The direction, that contrarian creative direction, matters way more than the distance you cover on day one.
And thinking about Thiel himself, if he could give advice to his younger self, starting out, any idea what that might be?
Based on what he's written and said, I suspect it would be something like, don't worry so much about fitting in. Don't try so hard to meet everyone else's expectations. He seems to feel his own biggest breakthroughs came only when he stopped caring about consensus and just pursued what he truly believed was important, no matter how unconventional it seemed.
That resonates. Powerful advice. Well, this deep dive has really pushed us to question some basic assumptions about competition, success, failure, focus. It's about realizing the biggest impact might not come from running faster in the race everyone else is running,
But from leaving that race entirely and starting your own.
which perfectly captures Thiel's core message. The future belongs to those who refuse to just copy the present. And maybe Peter Thiel's most powerful message for you is this. The future is not something that just happens. It's something we create. Every person listening has the potential to contribute. Don't copy. Don't settle. Ask the hard questions. Take the bold steps. And remember, the greatest breakthroughs begin where nobody else is looking. So the question we leave you with is this. Where in your own life right now can you dare to start from 0?